Important moments in Bob Knight's career. There are only 3 men's college basketball coaches who have won more games than Bob Knight: 902, Mike Krzyzewski, Jim Boeheim and Roy Williams, but none of them did the job with more flair, personality and polarity. Knight, who died Wednesday at age 83, was both a mythical figure who revolutionized the game with his motion offense and an emotional wellspring who never hid how he felt, sometimes at his own expense. His stamp on the game is undeniable. Knight is considered one of the greatest coaches of all time, and his list of achievements and challenges proves as much. In 3 decades at Indiana, Knight won 3 national titles and coached the Hoosiers to 5 Final Fours and 11 Big Ten titles. He also won a gold medal at the 1984 Olympics. He won the Associated Press Coach of the Year award 3 times, 1975, 1976 and 1989, and was also named Big Ten Coach of the Year 8 times, 1973, 1975, 1976, 1980, 1981, 1989, 1992 and 1993. He was one of the inductees in the first National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame class in 2006, the year the museum opened. And he coached and then hired Krzyzewski at Army, kick-starting the career of the winningest coach in Division I history. Knight's legacy is also filled with controversies that made him a polarizing figure. Here is a look at some of the important moments in Knight's career. 1960, Knight wins a national title as a player. Knight is one of just 3 people in NCAA history, joining Larry Brown and Joe B. Hall, to win a national championship as a player and a coach. Knight was a member of the 1960 Ohio State team, led by future Hall of Famers Jerry Lucas and John Havlicek, that won the national championship that year. The Buckeyes went on to make it to but lose the next 2 NCAA title games. 1962, Knight becomes a coach. After graduating from Ohio State in 1962, Knight began his coaching career at Cuyahoga Falls High School in Ohio, before he enlisted in the United States Army in 1963. He was an assistant coach before being named head coach at Army in 1965, when he was just 24 years old. 1966, Bob Knight meets Mike Krzyzewski. A year after Knight accepted Army's head coaching position, Mike Krzyzewski enlisted and joined the Army basketball team, commencing a relationship that would change both men's careers. Krzyzewski was the captain of the Army team that reached the NIT, at the time considered a more prestigious event than the NCAA tournament, in 1969 at Madison Square Garden in New York City. 1968, Knight refuses to participate in the NCAA tournament. It's hard to know exactly what to believe when it comes to the reason Knight declined the invitation from the NCAA. Author John Feinstein wrote that Knight preferred to send the Black Knights to the NIT because he thought his team would have a better chance, and he wanted to play closer to home. West Point is an hour from then-host Madison Square Garden. Plus, Knight reportedly didn't want to deal with the juggernaut that was UCLA, which was in the middle of a run of 10 consecutive national titles under John Wooden. 1971, Indiana lures Knight away. Knight's arrival in Bloomington was met with both applause and doubt. He was regarded as a disciplinarian, which the program needed following a tumultuous couple of years. But some questioned whether his methodical style of basketball would work against elite programs. The concerns would not last. With the help of veterans Joby Wright and Steve Downing, Knight's Hoosiers finished 22-6 and reached the Final Four in his second season at the helm, 1972-73. 1975-76, the second undefeated season. In his 5th year at Indiana, Knight led the Hoosiers to a 32-0 record and his first NCAA title as a head coach, defeating Big Ten rival Michigan 86-68 in the national championship game. Knight, however, often said the 1974-75 team, which lost star Scott May in the NCAA tournament, was as good if not better than this group. 1979, Knight punches a police officer and gets arrested in Puerto Rico. In 1979, police officer Jose Silva said Knight, who was in San Juan coaching the U.S. national team in the Pan American Games, used racial slur and punched him when he tried to escort the coach off the court to make room for the Brazilian women's national team to practice. Knight also allegedly called members of that team dirty people. Knight was arrested, then convicted and sentenced to 6 months in jail, but he never served the time. 1981. Isaiah Thomas helps Knight win second national title. Knight leaned on Thomas, the future Detroit Pistons star, to win his second national championship. Thomas, who averaged 16.0 ppg that season, and two other players on that team, Randy Whitman, Ray Tolbert, would go on to become first-round picks in future NBA drafts.